Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com. You can leave comments there, or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at whoknewpodcast, and find us on Facebook. Today we're taking a quick trip in the TARDIS with Classic Who.
Today it's Who Classic.
Today's episode is Battlefield. It's the first serial of the 26th season. Sylvester McCoy plays the 7th Doctor, Sophie Aldred plays Ace, and the Brigadier is played by Nicholas Courtney. Brigadier Alistair Lethbridge-Stewart has retired and settled down with his wife Doris. But how retired can you be when the Doctor shows up to fight medieval knights? This story is written by Ben Oranovich, directed by Michael Kerrigan. It originally aired on the 6th through the 27th of September 1989, and Part 4 got the most views with 4 million viewers. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Salamander60 here.
This is Auburn.
Hi, this is Brian.
Hey, it's Heather.
Hey, this is Josh.
Hey, this is Seabird1.
This is Frank.
Hi guys, it's Kelsey.
I just want everybody to think about the fact that while this serial was airing in the UK, at the exact same time Star Trek The Next Generation Season 3 was airing in the US. Compare the production values as you go.
Is that mandatory or?
Well, if you want to watch these rockets crash into Earth, you go right ahead. I'm going to watch Best of Both Worlds.
A sword is embedded in a stone, its hilt pulsing in a ray of sunlight. Nearby, a unit convoy transporting a nuclear missile radios Brigadier Winifred Bambera of a massive electronic disturbance, but their transmission is distorted. She and her team investigate. Aboard the TARDIS, the Doctor and Ace study the disturbance and find that it is a hidden message containing one word, Merlin. They arrive in Carbury and meet archaeologist Peter Warmsley, who takes them to an old battlefield site. A spaceship crashes nearby, and a medieval knight with a smooth helmet emerges.
A smooth helmet. Oh, I like that.
Well, I had to put that in because it's hard to tell the different knights apart.
They are actually elves of Rivendell.
No, Riders of Rohan.
Ah, yes. This is my first time watching this Doctor and Ace, and I want to know why Ace is so smart. Is she just smart?
No, she's an anarchist.
Her origin and where she comes from is, they were working on it and they never got to tell us, but this doctor first meets her in the future, but she's from, I believe, the present, the 80s.
89.
Yeah, because they keep referring to
this was in her future, so she's
Right.
in her 80s.
Yeah, she's 80s, which if you can tell by her jacket, she's got all space shuttle stuff on it.
That's what I was curious.
Not these kitties, they can't tell. We lived it.
I had a jacket like that with all the space shuttle patches on it.
Well, that's what I was curious about, because they kept saying that this was her future, but it looked like the same time for the most part. So is it just a few years in her future? Or
Yeah,
is it
he says it's a few years in the future.
I didn't catch that. Okay.
It's enough for her to go, 5 pounds for a beer? Are you crazy? And, that's kind of funny now.
I mean, technically they only bought a lemonade and a glass of water, so that is a little steep. Just saying.
Before they sold bottled water, I think.
And is that also part of why, Ace calls the Doctor the Professor? I assume she had some academic background.
That's just what she calls him, and I think it started off as an annoyance, but then it became the term of endearment for her.
She doesn't like school. She's, she literally knows how to blow things up. So
I picked up very quickly that she was like the explosives master. So.
Yeah.
It seems like even this production really enjoyed blowing up stuff outside of Ace. Pyrotechnics were a real easy way to make stuff look exciting on screen.
If you remember the previous Classic Who episode we did with these two, they were blowing Daleks left and right. So this particular production crew really wanted to put more action into Doctor Who.
Well, this was the last rendition before the show was canceled, right?
Yes.
So maybe it was a Hail Mary, we need more excitement.
Yeah, they kind of corrected their course a little too late.
I gotta say, aside from production issues that make this these episodes seemed cheesy, I felt like the quality of everything that they were doing and their intent was kind of spot on. Like the explosions were big, and even though the cheesy video toaster effects that they had, they were done as well as they could be done with the technology they were using. They were very well plotted out. They were very well planned. Things would go across screen and then explode in the exact spot that they were heading. Like with what they were working with, I thought like everything was well planned and produced. It's just let me put it this way. I didn't see any mistakes. I just saw limitations. Whereas in the past, I would see the limitations caused mistakes.
And then they would just be like, oh, well, keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I thought they spent a lot of money on this episode. A lot. I mean, I'm
super impressed.
All the outdoor location shooting is a lot. Plus, they spend about 45 minutes showing a helicopter. So, somebody was happy to get it.
Yeah, exactly. We got
it was 80%, I believe, shot on location. So
you could tell it was all shot on video. The way the frame rate is, the way the lenses are, because that's the thing. That's the thing about video cameras back then. They had one lens, and that's why a lot of the staging and blocking looks pretty stagey.
But I like it because it's consistent. It doesn't shift, because that's what I noticed is that I was like, what happened with the lighting? But what you just said makes sense.
Yeah. I don't even know if they had to use much lighting. They probably, obviously they did.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the budgetary things they didn't have to do anymore went towards special effects.
They knew their days were numbered and they were trying to fix things. They completely revamped the character of the Doctor, because when this Doctor first appeared, he was very much more clownish. And now from the one that we saw previously and now this one, he's got a very dark side to him.
And you notice that in the changing of his coat, it's not the cream color, it's the brown color. So they wanted to tell you visually too that this Doctor is becoming darker. This is the first appearance of that coat.
On the other episode that you guys did, do you remember him being more clowny?
A little bit.
He was a little darker.
I didn't notice the mood shift, I guess, in the Doctor.
He was darker then.
Yeah, that was the start of his darker change.
Yeah.
I liked him when we first watched him before, but like this series of episodes really it's not like I didn't like him, but won me over to him. I was like, I like this guy. I like this Doctor.
I do too.
He was more charming than I was expecting, based on the fact that I've never really heard anybody talk about him in a positive way per se, or a negative way. People just don't really talk about Sylvester McCoy that much. So I was like, oh, I kind of like this guy, and it surprised me.
So far, out of all the classic Doctors, he's my favorite. Aside from Tom Baker. Sorry.
Yes. Season 24, his first season, the last episode aired December 1987. The first episode of season 25, which was Remembrance of Daleks, aired in October of 88. And then that season ended January 1989, and this didn't premiere until September 89.
Wow, this is 89.
That's the thing. That's why it's like you look at this and go, how is the Next Generation? I mean, the Next Generation has dated effects, but not like this.
Well, that does explain, I'm jumping ahead, the animatronic mask at the end, which is cheesy, but really well done.
Really well done. Really.
A budgetary thing, because we were talking about that, is that we only have that one shot of the TARDIS interior, which is, Josh, your background right now. And the reason it's dimly lit is because that set was put into storage and was damaged while in storage. So that's why it's dimly lit, and they explained it by the message coming in and distorted. And
what a clever thing. I would have had no idea.
Yeah, and I don't. If you can like look at it more closely, the backdrop is literally a backdrop. It's not like a wall set with the circular things cut out. Funny. So they really hid some of those things well.
That's interesting, because this is this is the biggest limitation I think with video is dark images. And like this first opening with the TARDIS, at least in the way I watched it, didn't look too good.
Yeah, and that's why we only see it in the first episode, and then we're done.
As a story point, the Doctor's talking about the message is going sideways in time, bringing up the idea of alternate realities rather than time travel. But I think if they did it today, it would be a lot more wording and a lot more explanation of that we are crossing dimensions rather than time. Because looking at it, we just think that these soldiers are out of time, but there's differences. So I just think it would be mentioned a little bit different. I did like how they had the explanation for the noises being the military firing range. When they hear the Knight's ship crashing, it's like, oh, they're just, doing some more firing range, so things are going to go off all the time, so no one's paying attention to this. I did like that explanation. I thought that was quick, but I liked it.
Bambera arrives at the dig site where the missile convoy is stuck because of the electronic interference. The Doctor and Ace discuss the disruption with Bambera, who informs them that it was only a minor systems failure and orders them out. She berates Sergeant Zabrevniev for allowing 2 civilians into a secured area. Off the record, he tells her of the time he was under command of Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart, who used a scientific advisor called the Doctor. He believes this to be the same man, as it is rumored that he can change his appearance and personality.
So that's a reference to Liz Shaw, which we have not seen yet. That was
not yet.
That was the companion to the third Doctor before Joe became the official companion.
Oh yeah.
This part reminded me so much. This part reminded me so much of a Modern Who episode. Like,
yeah.
Have we seen a version of this scene 13 times before?
Yeah.
I think we had. As a matter of fact, there were a lot of moments that felt almost like watching a Modern episode to me, and I was like,
yeah,
this is crazy. I was not expecting that. So.
I was thinking, you could see Tennant stealing, from this Doctor in some of the ways that he delivered lines.
Yeah, like Tennant was kind of like this on crack a little bit.
Well, especially with the coat, before he takes off the hat and has the ID badge, it's like his coat is bigger on the inside because he's giving Ace all the stuff that he has in there.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
And then the Sergeant Zabrevniev, this is the first time that they're showing that UNIT is actually a United Nations intelligence task force, because everybody before that, they were all English. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time we're seeing an international unit.
And that was and also gender-wise as well. Like, I kind of feel like the show was always sort of somewhat progressive.
I was so impressed. There were so many different races and nationalities and genders doing everything in this episode from 1989, and I was like, what? Who else is doing this other than Star Trek, obviously?
But for those of us who lived that's what's surprising about now, how it has rescinded back to being a lot more sexist or racist in a lot of things. Because in the 80s, they were trying. We could see it. We are more equal. And it just seemed like we all regressed.
What happened, man?
The 90s. But I think this whole section where you do have the Bambera as the Brigadier, and then you have a nuclear weapon as a big scary thing, is very 80s and 90s Cold War.
Yes.
I'm surprised there wasn't an environmentalist message somewhere buried in here, but it was fun for me. I was born in the 80s, so I grew up in the 90s, but to see some of these older school problems being what is the cultural context, it reminded me of easier days.
Yeah, but it was also the arms race.
Mm-hmm.
The 80s was, we were all having such a good time because we were just going to blow up anyway. So I bet in the day that this aired, when that Russian officer spoke in a Russian accent, it was a big deal.
Well, now you mentioned even just the plot of this, two armies who have some sense of honor and then the nuclear war at the end. I mean, it's very of the time.
But it also foreshadowed the future, because they all had golden snitches on their hats. At least when I looked at it, it looked like a little ball with the wings on it. So that was, look, golden snitches.
I did
like Doctor saying that he knew it was a nuclear weapon because it has a graveyard stench to it.
And his delivery of that line was very good.
How long has it been since he was a regular on the show?
The Brigadier.
How long has he been missing at this point?
The first season of the Fourth Doctor, which was
the Fourth Doctor. Oh wow.
Robot,
yeah.
So,
1975.
Well, he was also on the Fifth Doctor special.
Yeah, so briefly on season a year before or something.
So from being a regular is around 14 years, but he had one other.
Yeah, he left around 75. I think he still popped up occasionally, but he wasn't a regular.
Okay, because Auburn noticed that they were really stretching the goodbye scene where the Brigadier leaves his wife. We go back to that same exact scene 3 times. And I was like, hey, if you're a fan of Doctor Who, you haven't seen this character in a while. So that's, they've got to really build up the tension of oh, when is he going to reunite with the Doctor?
Saying goodbye to the wife wife and taking the helicopter flight is like 2 episodes of his story.
It is. I was like, is this going somewhere? Like, what a waste of this.
There's still the
I
helicopter.
know that he's the focal point here. Like, he's the reason we're even watching this episode. But I'm like, is he going to do something?
It was fan service because it was also editing-wise, it was broken down into so many different scenes. But combine them all together, it's like less than 5 minutes. Or they're just going back, see him get up, and then they're like, okay, there's your little bit. Now we go back to the story.
Yeah.
Also, I believe this was the very first time we saw his wife.
Yeah,
yes,
she was mentioned. I can't remember where, but we never saw her. We just had a.
See, I think they showed her just to give you an idea that he is retired. We are not seeing him in the military setting.
Right.
We are seeing him in a home setting, which we've never seen him in before.
I also
so they
think
had the wife there. So, of course, it was probably even like, oh my God, that's the Brigadier's wife.
And he did pretty well for himself. Look at the house.
That house is awesome.
Yeah.
I also think it was a setup for the, gender agenda in a positive way for the button at the end.
Agenda.
The agenda. There you go.
Oh, you mean Bambosa? Good man?
Right. Yes, exactly.
But that was a great way to play it. It's like, of course the Brigadier would go to that. And then it's like, no, she's a woman. And the Brigadier would be like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't have made that assumption.
So Doris was first mentioned in The Planet of the Spiders, which is the third Doctor's last story.
Oh.
And then Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart, when he puts on his dress unit uniform, and then he pulls out that case, that's a Webley pistol, which is Jack's pistol.
I was going to ask. I have a
How
note
many
here.
bullets were in that case, Eugene?
I don't know, but that seems like he took a cartridge and he just put it in the case.
It was like
Why
fully-
was it that
fully
they
loaded.
retired the rope around the neck to the gun?
I believe it's called a lanyard.
Yes. Now lanyards have something else that has to do with something else for Doctor Who fans.
Right.
At his home, the Brigadier and his wife are planting trees in their garden when a call from the Secretary General informs him that the Doctor is back. How can he resist? Bamera takes the Doctor and Ace to a nearby hotel next to Vertigen Lake, which translates to High King Lake. They meet the innkeeper's Pat and his blind wife Elizabeth, as well as Xiao Yung, a young woman assisting Peter Wormsley with his dig at the battlefield. Xiao and Ace bond over their love of explosives. Elizabeth tells the Doctor that a scabbard unearthed by Peter has a strange power about it. The Doctor touches it and feels the power as well. It's waiting for something or someone.
I like that when they pay for the drinks, there's a crab thing, and then he's like,
Yeah.
that's a piece of currency.
Right, yeah.
Valuable or what?
A valuable coin. Yeah.
Coinage.
Coinage, he says, yes.
I don't know, I like that. The Doctor has alien currency. It's cool.
Well, and I like that his coin purse just has that all together.
Right.
Like that's just okay. Any money, yeah, sure, whatever goes in there.
I mean, he usually doesn't have any money in modern times, so
Yeah.
I guess he gave up on that at some point. I don't know.
I did like the reference that they did, the little fan service when the Doctor was taking out everything from his pockets and then got the unit ID for himself and Liz Shaw. So I did like that. They're bringing up Liz Shaw and goes, well, who is it? I don't even look like her.
I was anticipating that was the first instance of psychic paper, but from what I remember, that was a
Modern,
2009.
Yeah.
That's what I thought it was too. And when he pulled 2 leather things out, it was like, he has 2 psychic papers. When they're in the truck and he's trying to convince them, trying to convince her, I'm the Doctor and I know what I'm talking about. And she's saying, get these people out of here. And he says, I only have 3 things to say. And then it winds up, he says 5 things. Well, all 5 things he mentions are aliens that he and Unit fought. So he's kind of like sending a code to Unit. Do any of you know who these things are?
Yeti, Autons, Daleks, Cybermen, Silurians.
Yeah, I wondered why. I thought, was that just a joke? I didn't get why he was doing that.
I think he was like, can I wake somebody up with these references? And he kind of did. Yeah, so he says 5 things that somebody should go, wait a minute.
Even though there was only supposed to be 3 things.
But that's what I liked, his response. Bombera didn't even notice I said 5. Those military.
That was part of the test.
Another thing that stuck out to me was when the Brigadier Lethbridge-Stewart is in the gardening, and his wife says, they're calling for you. And then
I know where you're going with this.
And he mentions, is the king, like the king is calling? It's like, no, you have a queen in power right now. So that was odd.
He said I wouldn't even answer it if it was the king or something like that.
Yeah, I just found it odd.
Maybe it's like a parallel universe where no one remembers the previous universe. Sorry, I had to do it. I kept waiting for some archaeology jokes, and
Yeah, me
they just
too.
didn't come. They just didn't come. So
yeah, he just didn't. He kind of had a respect for archaeology.
he actually defended it. Yeah, he's like, you can't just blow up archaeology. I don't know. Anyway,
until he does later.
right. Well, yes, but that was from himself. So it's
Right. He knew
anyway,
that wasn't him.
that was my only contribution. So.
And well, I didn't understand that Shu was the assistant to Wormsley, so that's good that you have
cleared that up.
Cleared that up for me. Yes, thank you.
True. I kept thinking, I don't know who this girl is. She's acting like she's known Ace for 14 years, and pretty sure they just met. But it's cool.
Yeah. And when the doctor first sees her, he like takes off his hat and like wants to flirt with her, and Ace like shoves him into the hotel. Right. So I was like, oh, it's just some random woman also going for a drink at this place. But
yeah, I didn't catch that she was his assistant. I thought she was just someone in town who was in the bar at that moment. I didn't catch that.
She doesn't really serve that much function other than having a car.
Yeah, she doesn't. It's like I don't know why they had the character. I don't mind
exposition.
It's basically when Ace is on her own, Ace needs somebody to talk to give the audience information. And again, we're talking about budget. Another thing about film versus video. Film stock is expensive. Video, it's cheap as hell. So like they probably saved thousands and thousands and thousands by shooting it on video.
Well, remember when they shot on film, they wouldn't stop if somebody broke a script. They just screw it, keep going. And you can still kind of see this attitude in this episode because there are times when Ace says lines too early.
Yeah, and also too, it seemed like the archaeologist paused before he said anything.
Yes.
You know what? I wonder if someone was feeding him his lines off screen.
So that guy playing Peter Wormsley, he improv a lot of his lines because he was like, I can do this, and it'll come later where he starts to paraphrase Tennyson.
Okay.
Yeah, they get very quotey at the end.
And that was all the actor. It was not written that way.
And that's what was weird, I felt, because he paused awkwardly, like he didn't know what he was doing. And then he performed very well. Like he didn't stumble. So I was just like, wow, so what is going on there?
He was finding his light. The smooth-helmeted knight is hiding near the TARDIS just as Bambera comes across it. She finds the knight, but before she can shoot him, the other knights wearing crown-shaped helmets arrive and shoot electrical weapons at her. The smooth-helmeted knight fends them off and flees. The Crown Knights regroup and find the Smooth Knight. They are all told by an ethereal voice to kill him. They throw a grenade which launches him into the air to come down in a barn near Ace and Show. They find the knight, a human named Anselin, who recognizes the Doctor as Merlin. He tells them that Excalibur has called out. The beginning of King Arthur's restoration and the final battle to rule Britain has begun. The Crown Knights arrive at the barn and one reveals himself to be Mordred, who also recognizes the Doctor as Merlin. Fearing Merlin, he decides to leave, but first warns the Doctor that his mother, Morgaine, is coming and she will defeat him. He and the other knights go to an old castle where Mordred activates a gateway to their home dimension and summons Morgaine. When she arrives, she psychically connects to the Doctor, warning him to stay away or die.
Ooh, mama.
Once we got the idea that this was, Tales of King Arthur, I was just interested in watching how are they going to link this up? What part of the lore are they going to put in? How are they going to make it sci-fi? Like, what are they going to do? I found that interesting.
I love the concept of the Doctor was Merlin. I think that's a great thing that could be explored. And I really love the fact that the Doctor was Merlin, but not yet.
Yes, I love that too.
That was great.
That's something I'm a little confused about because supposedly they're from another universe. So that what if King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table what happened to them in another universe? So will this Doctor ever be Merlin, or will the Doctor in another universe?
But they were from other universes, but they fought here in this area. That's how they have all the archaeological stuff.
And that's how our myth of King Arthur came to be, because of this battle from another dimension. They came here.
They came here many
years ago.
I see.
And then they left, and now they're finding their way back.
So
and then you had that great thing where it's like, oh, here's a note in the Doctor's writing, and it's like Arthur died in the battle. Everything else was propaganda.
Well, that's later.
Yeah, I know it's later, but it's like that is.
The definition for this explains this.
Yeah, it's like this wasn't a big, fantastic searching for the Holy Grail Avalon. The Doctor's saying, no, that's all myth.
That's probably why the show got canceled. They ticked off everybody in Britain.
I spent the whole story arc thinking that they were just from another universe. I'd never caught that this was what you just explained. Which
they never. See, the thing is, they don't mention it. You just kind of have to know by, look at all the remnants of things from this battle around here.
I see. So then him saying like I'm not, but I will be someday, or something like that.
Yes.
The way that he put the writing in the ground when they blew up the opening of the tunnel. That's a lot. That is a lot to infer.
Well, they do say they don't recognize him by his looks. He does not look the way he does when he was Merlin.
Yeah,
but they got him from his countenance. They could just look at him and go, "That's Merlin." Doesn't look like Merlin, but that's Merlin, and I loved that. I thought that was great.
To this day, no writers have explored that avenue.
There is an audio drama that is a prequel to this story.
A prequel in the future?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, I haven't listened to it, so I don't know.
Time travel.
I thought River at one point mentioned something about him.
Yes.
Being
yeah. So it's in the Pandorica opens when the 11th Doctor explains to Amy Pond the most feared being in all of the cosmos was sealed in the Pandorica after being tricked by a good wizard. River Song says she hates good wizards in fairy tales as they always turn out to be him, referring to the Doctor. And like Josh, what you were mentioning, I just kind of took this as a like Bill and Ted aspect of time travel, where the Doctor is kind of doing the things that he's gonna do.
Remember to write the message.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I that's how I took it. I wish they emphasized that more, at least at one point, because it connects everything more.
Josh doesn't want to figure stuff out, okay? He wants to be told.
There's enough to figure out in these shows that I enjoy.
But either have a electronic gunfight or a sword fight. To put both then just seems...
You gotta have both.
Yeah.
No, but just shoot. And it's like,
well, it solves the
accurately.
It solves the age-old question of like, you brought a knife to a gunfight. Of course.
Well, I think their armor is more is resistive to the shooting. That's why then they have to go in with the swords, because that's how they're really gonna hurt each other.
With the Herbie Hancock soundtrack.
Yeah, but no, I really I like the Space Knights, and I like the little electric guitar riffs that go with them every time you see them on screen. That little
very 80s.
Yeah, yes.
So some behind the scenes on the Knights is that they were originally written to be cybernetic and not like night knights. But at this point in the BBC's tenure, I guess, they were good at doing present day and past. So anytime you did a little bit of a future thing, they just couldn't wrap their head around like how to make it look good. When they wrote this and then they got delivered what they got delivered, they were like, oh, we got knights. We didn't get cybernetic knights.
You mean like the BBC special effects house or something? When you...
Yeah, like the costuming, the props, production.
Oh, I see.
I think they have enough like futuristicness to them, but they couldn't be.
But that's all. Yeah, but that's also why they look similar. Is because this is what BBC has. They have like period accurate stuff.
Right.
But I do like the imagery of a period knight with a ray gun. That is a really cool.
Yeah, I like the fact that the suits of armor are old-fashioned because it brings up that Arthur mystique and then makes it incongruous with how they're fighting.
In modern episodes, they tend to take historic stuff that I get all excited about and make it all future-y and ruin it. Like, do you know how excited I was for like dinosaurs on a spaceship? And
yeah, I know.
I was so disappointed. And like, that's just one of what is the train episode?
Orient Express, Mummy.
Yeah, like there was so many times I thought I was gonna get old-timey stuff and they didn't deliver. So I was perfectly fine that they were basically still knights.
One, I like that you couldn't see their faces, so they could even be alien.
Or robots.
Yeah, or robots.
Yeah, when they in the barn when the Doctor went to take off the smooth helmet. Yeah, there was a moment where I was like, is it gonna be alien? Like there was a moment where you're like, ooh, what's gonna be under there? And then it was a very nice looking.
It was a very
to say when they took the helmet off. When they took the helmet off, it was like, don't put the helmet back on.
I totally expected somebody to swoon on screen, but nobody did, and I was like,
Bambera.
No, I don't. Did they? I don't know.
Well, later on, Bambera and Anselin kind of.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There's that.
Their little relationship is
He reminded me of the actor Lee Pace a little bit.
Thank you. He reminded me of somebody, and that's who it is.
So Bambera and Anselin initially do not get along. like when they're leaving that confrontation in the barn, and as the Doctor, Ace, and Show are walking away, Bambera and him like wrestle basically. And I like the Doctor, Ace is asking like, what's going on? And the Doctor says, they're just establishing their credentials, and walks away.
Oh, is that what, I didn't hear what he said.
Well, as all male-female future couples in the 80s start out arguing.
And as the romance novel author of this group, everyone loves an enemies to lovers story.
Of course.
It's like the classic. It's great.
The thing that I was thinking of when you guys were talking about the period piece knights with the ray guns, it reminds me of, I can't remember exactly the saying, but all magic can be traced to science or something like that.
All advanced forms of technology appear as magic.
And so that I kind of like that you had magic and sorcery, but now it's because of the time the people didn't know what that type of science was.
Right.
I think that Ray Bradbury quote is coming later, actually.
Isn't it Arthur C.
Clarke?
Yeah,
you're right.
Arthur C. Clarke. Thank you.
It's going to come later. I forgot that it was later.
Watching it again, I did like that the knight approached the TARDIS and his hand kind of touches it reservedly, almost, caressing it a little bit. So it looks like, yes, he knows that it's Merlin's. The TARDIS is Merlin's. But then that's why he's hiding around or walking around the TARDIS. It's like, this is Merlin's transportation.
Well, I thought it was a nice piece. I did notice him behaving slightly differently, and it wasn't until they started shooting at each other that I realized they were on different sides. And I like that. I liked it, kept me guessing. And
I also did like the little nod to that they were in Ace's future, and so the future of people who were watching it, because they had car phones.
Did they? I didn't catch that.
He said his car phone wasn't working.
Says car phones wasn't working. I need to use your phone, and it's an older phone, but it's a voice-activated phone. He picks it up saying, here, I want to call, and there's a recorder saying that it's not going through, we cannot connect at this time.
It was like one of those old-fashioned phones.
End call. So it was just a nice little bit of where we're going.
He wasn't even listening.
Yeah. But I like that little bit that they put in saying we're in the future.
It's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow.
Doris also had like a big phone. Was that also out of time for that? It seemed pretty 90s, maybe more late 90s, like that big gray brick. Yeah, with the antenna.
Was it the green one?
I think
certain people may have had something like that, like it was more military, so they may have changed that a bit to be more.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Because she was bringing it out to the back porch for the Brigadier.
But I remember that didn't have much range when that first came out, so they did have to extend the.
So I think the idea is you make it bigger, it's stronger.
Yeah.
I laughed very hard when we have liftoff, when the knight gets shot up straight into the air after the explosion.
So bad.
Really? That's where you're going with this one.
Frank, it wasn't until the second watch that I realized that not only that was the knight that exploded up and then landed in the barn. Like I thought somehow they had exploded in the barn because
right. It's not exactly clear where they all are in proximity to each other.
It's so bad.
They're doing the whole lead up, the whole boom.
Yeah. They're cutting to the women, and it's like, are they next to it? Yeah.
And even the smoke trail from the hole in the barn's roof, it just looks so fake.
Oh yeah, that was super fake.
But as I was saying before, the effects didn't always meld well, but they all were successfully executed.
This one I have to disagree with you because the knight just went straight up into the air. It's just like, and it gets thrown up, and it's like not the best effect.
No.
Either. I laughed when Ace reacts to Bambera saying, "You're freaky friends" before she says it. So it reminded me of the Brady Bunch of who goes there? Hark! It's like, wait a minute, you got to relax a little, Ace. Don't react to the freakiness until she actually says it. And opening up the portal, Mordred used Excalibur's brother sword, and it's like that's the first we ever heard of a brother sword to Excalibur, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, why wouldn't it be a sister sword? You don't make brothers.
Yeah.
Well, it's phallic.
It's funny, when I heard that, I thought of like He-Man or She-Ra because they have two swords that are the same, but they go to each other and not the same.
Well, it's also because you always think of He-Man and She-Ra.
Yeah, that's like your go-to.
That's also inaccurate. But that's originally how it started out. Skeletor had one half of the power sword, and then He-Man had the other half of the power sword.
Right.
And Mordred's evil laugh was so children children's morning television.
He sold it. He committed to that, though. I gotta
committed
say.
to it. I'm not angry.
There was this one moment that a look in his eye where he looked like he was done, and someone off camera was like,
more,
keep going, roll. Like he's like, oh, all right, I'm kind of out of it. I'm tapped, but I'll keep going.
I got some serious Loki vibes from him.
Oh, for sure. He looked like a combination of was it like Noah Wyle and Keanu Reeves to me.
I did think it was interesting having the earthquake feel when they're breaking through time and space to connect those two worlds, realities. And it was an odd effect that they used those weird color vibrations and stuff. So I thought
I've seen that effect somewhere.
It was okay that he's more involved in the feeling of breaking through time and space.
Right, I almost thought that he was going to transport to where
Morgaine
was. Yeah.
Is Morgaine a name from the Arthur legend? Because I don't recognize.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's Arthur's half sister.
Morgana Le Fay.
Yep.
She has different.
And they sleep together.
And have Mordred.
Because she tricks Arthur. She appears as someone beautiful and stuff. And
those were the days.
Just half blood related.
Right.
The next day, Peter shows the Doctor and Ace where he uncovered the scabbard. They find an old carving left by the Doctor that says to dig here. Ace blows a hole in the ground, revealing a concrete tunnel. She and the Doctor take the tunnel to a spaceship on the bottom of the lake, which houses Excalibur and the body of King Arthur. Ace pulls a sword from the stone, causing the ship's defenses, which are flying glowing eels, to attack. Ace is trapped in an alcove which starts to fill with water. The Doctor is able to open a hatch, releasing Ace into the lake. Meanwhile, the Brigadier arrives in Carbury and crosses paths with Morgaine. They agree to a truce where she holds a ceremony to honor the fallen warriors. He and Sho drive to the dig site and meet up with Bambera and Anselin. Anselin and Peter take a walk and see Ace rising from the lake, carrying Excalibur. She tells them that the Doctor needs help and gives the sword to Anselin. The Brigadier follows the tunnel to the spaceship, destroys the defense mechanism, and saves the Doctor.
Well, that's a lot of stuff that happened.
Yeah, it was... Okay, I'll start with this glowing snakes.
Yeah.
No, I actually loved glowing snakes because they reminded me of Ghostbusters and that really cool eyeball effect where clearly when you are looking at your own eyeball, you don't see your veins, but this creature could, that's how they did that. Loved that a lot. I thought it was of the time. I was totally cool with it. I was like, this is Ghostbusters technology right here. But maybe that's just me. Maybe y'all are haters. I don't know.
Well, what I enjoy about especially the classic Who is the sillier the effect or setup is, the more committed the drama is by the actors. And I kind of feel it sometimes balances it out.
It's very charming.
And this is part of the actual Doctor when he blows up the little potato chip bag and pops it to wake them up,
right?
And then just leaves the room. Just, good morning.
I enjoyed that.
And we see a little bit more of the budding relationship between Bambera and Anselin.
Right.
I mean, I never bought that relationship.
I felt like it was kind of gradual.
This would have been weeks, right? Like this would have been a month of checking in on their story, like for the people who actually watched it.
Yeah, because it was once a week.
Right. So for us, stuff is progressing very quickly. But if you were somebody who watched it and then couldn't watch it till the next week, it probably felt like a will they, won't they more and more.
Yeah.
Why does Ace pull the sword after he says, don't pull the sword?
She doesn't think that she'll be able to lift it.
Well, she didn't think. Yeah, she said I can pull it from the stone as she's pulling it.
Yeah.
But I really like that she gives the sword to Anselin when she gets to shore.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It is pretty hysterical how she rises out of the water holding the sword.
Yeah.
The mythical way that they had just described.
Yeah.
They had to do several takes of that.
Oh, really?
Because where she is and how far the cameras could capture her, it was about knee deep. So she had to go down and then she couldn't feel where's up from that position instead of just being completely submerged.
Right. I really like the whole bit where she almost drowns in that thing with the cliffhanger, the prior episode. Reminds me of some stuff with Martha. I know there was the part where she gets trapped in the escape pod that gets jettisoned, but
that's 42.
Yeah. It was just very reminiscent.
I had a feel of it.
Yeah, and it was real, like physically real, like water and on set. Like it was dangerous, and I felt
that scene was more dangerous than you think, because I don't know if you saw that crack in the glass as she's banging.
No.
So what happened is, normally more elaborate stuff like this is supposed to be scheduled during the earlier part of the day, but for some reason they scheduled this for like 10 o'clock at night. So they had the glass built, and then they had the water, but they didn't account for the banging. So the glass starts to bulge when it fills with water, and then Ace or Sophie is acting and banging on the glass. And so it cracks, and Sylvester McCoy sees it, and he yells for the production guys, the stage hands, to like pull her out. And so after they pull her out right away, it's on the DVD. And as after that, the glass cracks and the water fills the stage. And Sophie says on the interview that Sylvester saved her life, and she could have gotten like cuts on her hands. You know, when that water is emptying out, you know, you're gonna go with it. So she could have been severely cut by that glass.
What a hero.
Could have been impaled on a sword.
Yeah.
Jeez, that's scary. That's on the DVD?
Yeah, because they were filming, and so it just kept going, because they were trying to help her and like save the cameras, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, because these are video cameras, so they're electrical, so water and electricity. It's a bad mix.
That could have ended much differently. Whew.
Yeah.
But it didn't, so yay.
Yeah, I like the scene with the Brigadier and Morgaine, in that Morgaine was pissed at her son because, no, these are honorable warriors. They have, you know, shrines erected to their fallen warriors. They remember them and all that. And she's like, and you just started a war without any of the proper homage to the past. You know, so she was saying, we'll take this truce right now for all your World War veterans, or warlords that have fallen in the World Wars. So he's like, wait a minute, so we're having a truce right now? Okay, cool. That gives us time to regroup. Like it. We'll see each other. And next time, I will kill you.
That reminded me of Strax in that episode where he's like, next time we meet, I hope to kill you on the battlefield.
Yeah, this feels very British with like the, you know, oh, we'll honor your war dead. And
yeah.
I didn't understand what her problem was with Mordred. Like, I didn't understand how he had dishonored, but it was just because he had started the war with these people.
Just that he thought they were savages, and you're supposed to have some kind of respect for fallen soldiers.
I think this is their attempt to layer in a bit of humanity for Morgaine, for what comes later, so it doesn't really come so much out of the blue, that it's not just fighting for her, it's honor. She's fighting for a reason, not just to fight.
Yeah, she is kind of a her character has some layers that you don't expect or see from many villains. Usually it's just black or white.
Yeah.
I mean, war is a science with rules to be applied, with good soldiers appreciate, recall, and recapitulate before they go to decimate the other side. That's for all the Pippin fans out there.
Wow.
I thought it was funny how when the Brigadier stumbles across Morgaine and her soldiers, knights, he just turns like left and just pulls out the gun. It just looks so awkward.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not a threatening manner.
I really liked the doctor's line after Ace blew up the hole in the archaeological dig. He said, one of these days we're going to have a long talk about acceptable safety standards.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the same thing he kind of did in Remembrance of the Daleks.
Oh, yeah. I guess that's a pretty like good line to put in after you blow something up. You're like, we have to talk about this for the future, but
and you never get around to it.
It's
I like the archaeologist going, it takes a year to clear a centimeter, and just was like looking down going, what do I do?
Oh, we didn't really touch the helicopter ride.
Oh, you go ahead, start.
Well, I mean, it just takes a while. And I guess the Brigadier goes to London first and has some off-screen like interactions in London, and then the next day flies to Cadbury.
Okay, so there's stuff that was written that they obviously did not do.
Okay.
And so this was on the commentary. So he gets a call, like Doris gives him the phone, and they mention Geneva.
Yeah.
So that's why his helicopter pilot is French, because she's coming from there.
I thought she was Russian.
She's French, but I believe the actress is Polish. Anyway, so the Brigadier, then he changes wardrobe
Right.
because he's now wearing the commando sweater instead of the Class A uniform. So there's a lot they cut out.
Because it felt like that helicopter ride, because there was a day change also, I think, in it.
Yeah.
Like it felt like they were flying all night and still not across the island of Great Britain.
Yeah, so what you're picking up on is correct, that he doesn't go straight to the battlefield. He has to go somewhere else, and I don't know why.
Okay.
Because they didn't need to.
And I also think they were trying to build up empathy for the pilot character for when she buys it later, which I was like, holy cow.
Yeah. Talk about Morgaine. But Morgaine was the one that then shot the helicopter with the best effects money could buy at the time. I'm sure.
Fingernail lightning.
Yeah.
I mean, that was at least Power Rangers level.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm thinking of with the helicopter is that they have that helicopter for the day, and so they want to get the most use out of it. This is the best that they could do.
I did get a kick out of the sanitary covers for the headphones they were wearing that were all uneven and like just...
They mentioned that as well.
It made what on the
they said that like these little
like hairnets
like hairnets for your ears. That's how they do it in real life. But then I think it was the script editor that was on the commentary. He goes, sometimes you don't need to go real life. You can just remove those.
Yeah, I thought it was a little in your face about it.
Especially when they have the Brigadier asleep later without any ear protection. A helicopter is pretty loud.
It's loud, yeah.
Well, I didn't think he was asleep. He was resting, because you could see that he's like, I'm not really asleep, I'm just resting.
It becomes a white noise after a while.
I just wanted to real quick touch on when they're going into the spaceship at the bottom of the lake, which looked to me that the entrance looked really cool, like how there was like this geometric glowing green thing in the middle of like a mouth or something. But this is another instance where the Doctor talks about how he'll be Merlin in the future, with like trying to open the door, and he does voice activation because that's what he will.
That's what he would have done.
That's what he would have done.
And the activation is open up. It's me.
Yeah.
Again, it's very Bill and Ted.
Yeah. I just took it as a Doctor in another universe would have done the same thing. But so it works both ways. I don't like my idea. I like the actual idea.
Morgaine orders her knights to bring Excalibur to her and joins Mordred at the inn. She hypnotizes the helicopter pilot to gain information on their military capabilities. She drains the pilot of her life and incinerates the body. As payment for the drinks they provided to her son, she grants Elizabeth her sight. The Brigadier and the Doctor go to join Bambera in the Doctor's old car Bessie, leaving Ace and Sho to guard Excalibur. Morgaine and her henchman, the Destroyer, watch through a crystal ball as Ace draws a chalk circle surrounding both herself and Sho. Morgaine uses her powers to have Ace and Sho turn on each other, but they break her mental hold on them before either leaves the circle.
I think Ace had a lot of practice drawing circles when she would make the anarchy symbol.
Yeah.
If you know that they can't break the chalk circle, make the circle a lot bigger. Make it comfortable.
Make it
Why
around
are
the
you
building.
in a circle so small that you have to have your backs up against each other to avoid putting your feet out? It's like, no, I'd be like moving furniture and drawing the entire room. Just think about it. You could have like, keep the couch inside the circle, keep the TV inside the circle.
Right, a couch-sized circle. Definitely.
Comfort.
The reason was because the spotlight could only do that much of the circle. So they drew the circle around the spotlight.
I thought that was a very efficient use of some theatrical lighting to give that whole element like more gravitas. Like even though you could see and know like very easily how it was done, I really like stuff like that. I think it worked well.
More drama.
That night has overcome that area. It made sense that they were in light.
The Doctor got a message. Yeah. Night has fallen.
What was the story reason for Morgaine giving that woman back her sight?
Again, to show that she's not just a black and white bad guy. She's paying back that she was able to help her son.
Right.
Yeah, she sees an honorable act and she acts
Acknowledges
on
it. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I don't know, the juxtaposition of incinerating the body next to returning sight. I still did not buy
Burning the
Morgaine.
body was also just trying to appease the innkeepers. You can't leave her like that. Okay, boom, there, happy now?
I didn't catch that line of dialogue.
But she was captured. She was captured. She had given up information. So at this point, it's execution, not war.
Yes.
But that actress, we recognized her from Willow, and I guess she got typecast catching things and making them dust and letting them go.
Who was she in Willow?
Wasn't she?
She's Queen Bavmordia.
Bavmordia.
The main
she grabs
bad guy.
the acorn.
Yeah, that would be Jean Marsh.
Terrible movie.
Are you talking about?
Terrible movie. Horrible movie.
Beloved terrible movie. Cherished terrible
Oh my
movie.
God. You sit through 5 hours of and then the only reason you win is because she trips and spills a bowl.
Whoa, spoiler.
But Jean Marsh was also Mombi on the 1985 Return to Oz.
I love that movie.
That's creepy.
It's a great movie.
It's got a place in my heart.
It was also in Upstairs, Downstairs.
Yeah, she was a regular on that?
She was Rose. So that was kind of cool. I like that the Seventh Doctor has some upstairs downstairs actor crossover, and it was the one that we watched last time, which was Remembrance of the Daleks.
I wrote down a quote for this section that I thought was really cute, and it happens. I don't know if it's like a cutaway from the scene in the bar, but when they first get the Doctor out of the spaceship and he hooks up with the Brigadier. I think that's the first time they see each other in these episodes. He's like baffled by the women are angry or blowing things up or something. I can't remember. And the Doctor says, "Don't worry, Brigadier. People will be shooting at you soon."
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Brigadier says something. I'm not really. This is out of my. Oh, he says women, not my field of expertise, or something like that.
Right. He says something that offends one of them, I think.
Oh, the next one or the new one? He says about like the companion.
Oh yes.
Oh
yeah.
right.
She's like, "What did you just call me?" I thought that line was really cute.
Yeah.
This paragraph also has a exchange of dialogue that's some of my favorite in this whole thing, and that's, the Brigadier is saying to the Doctor, "Well, we have weapons that can take care of this destroyer thing." And he pulls out the bullet. And it's a titanium tipped,
Teflon tip.
Yeah, Teflon. The non-stick bullet.
Which is what Teflon is.
And he's like, this is perfect shooting. And then he says to the Doctor, well, I think the Doctor is like, "You have this?" And the Doctor's like, the Brigadier is like, "We're not stupid. We have armor-piercing bullets for Daleks. We have freezing space rays for Yetis. And we have gold-tipped bullets for you-know-who," which is a reference to Cybermen being allergic to gold. And that brings up the whole thing where, the Doctor's like, "So you don't have any silver bullets?" "Why would we need silver bullets?" "You never know." I just thought that was because it was like they were going back to the very, very beginning. Because the very first Brigadier episode was with the Yetis.
I thought the silver bullets were a reference to werewolves, which...
Yeah. I did too. And I didn't know, obviously, at the time that they were going to use them later in these, but I thought that was a reference to werewolves, and I immediately thought of the Rose and Tennant episode, and I was like, wow.
You brought up the Teflon bullets, Teflon coating, like that's an actual thing because the Teflon was developed for armor in the military, and then we now use it for, where we're supposed to not use it for, like our cooking.
Yeah,
that's why it was developed. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
it was extremely hard, extremely thin, and then they realized the properties were non-stick.
Yeah. So you watch, I think it's the documentary "The Devil I Know," which is about that, and Dark Water with Mark Ruffalo, which is also about DuPont and how they developed Teflon, and they knew about these bad side effects, but still.
Oh God.
Kept it going. And
it gives you cancer.
And speaking of like military weapons, there's a scene where Bambera takes the top off of the car to shoot the knights. She's using a Steyr AUG, which is an Austrian rifle, and it's a very unusual rifle, and it was the main rifle that the angry brother in Die Hard used to try to kill John McClane, if you remember that weird looking gun. And so every time it shows up, I'm like, there it is again.
Unit is international.
I think it was also in this paragraph that the Doctor uses some mind control. Is that a typical classic Who, or is that...
Someone explain that, please?
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
they could have done it in a better way, but they probably didn't have much time, and it was like, just stare at them and they'll turn and walk away.
I was
You
like,
do
Jedi
want
mind
to
tricks?
go.
That's
Yeah.
the thing.
But Heather, this is not the doctor you're looking for.
We know which Dr. Heather's looking for.
Wow. Yeah.
The Doctor and Brigadier arrive at the dig site where the Knights and unit are battling. In the midst of the fight, Mordred and Ancelon face each other, but the Doctor intervenes. Mordred laughs, that wonderful laugh, as the battle is only a diversion so Morgaine can go after Excalibur. The Doctor puts a sword to Mordred's throat and tells him to contact Morgaine to stop her attack. She mentally tells her son that the Doctor is bluffing and will not kill him. She is right, and the Doctor backs away. The Brigadier points his gun at Mordred and says he has no problem pulling the trigger. Morgaine tells her son to die well and orders the Knights to attack. The battle rages on. Meanwhile, the Doctor and Brigadier take Mordred back to the inn. The destroyer brings down the inn on top of Ace and Show in an attempt to gain Morgaine's favor. He and Morgaine leave through a portal with Excalibur. Mordred escapes as the Doctor and Brigadier find Ace and Show no worse for wear and follow Morgaine through the portal. Ace grabs some silver bullets before following.
I like how the Doctor used Mordred's sword against him.
Yeah.
He holds onto the sword and then uses the umbrella to hold the other side that he can pull. I thought that was kind of cool, using what the guy had against him.
This area, if I'm not mistaken, is my favorite moment when the Doctor walks between the two of them sword fighting.
And they have that look.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, keep going.
Yeah. Fine. Very Abbott and Costello moment.
Oh, is the Destroyer part of Arthurian legend, or is he in addition to just this episode? These
I
episodes?
think
I've
it's
never heard of
new.
him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for the time and their money, that was really good.
There was a few
it looked
moments
good.
there where it, like, you know, they had animatronics in the mouths for sort of like almost close lip sync even, and I kept looking to see, and aside from, like I said, I think if it was shot on film and more darkly lit, it would have looked a little bit less cheesy of a design, but like
still,
quality wise,
Pretty sure we've seen far worse on Modern Who.
Oh, of
Yeah.
course. But like I thought it was really well done. Now, as far as the way he moved, back then, prosthetics and animatronics like that, I mean, he was probably hooked up to so many wires and tubes that he could only stand there and things like that. So
One, they were smart, Josh, to put him in shackles almost the entire time. He is just standing around everywhere. But no, that's smart.
Bought it.
Yeah, tie it to the story. It was good.
Also, I mean, functionally, you needed him to be trapped, or the whole episode would have just gone to insanity while he.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of nice so that he wasn't a servant of her. He just summoned him and was forcing him to do this because of the silver shackles. This added an extra layer of bad guy and complexity.
Did we get to the part where he throws the Brigadier out the window?
It's around here. But speaking of the Brigadier, I love that judo chop to the Doctor.
Yeah.
How he distracts him. He goes, "Is that a spaceship?"
Yeah.
It just made me laugh.
Don't you have to say judo chop when you give a judo chop?
No, you have to do
judo chop.
It's it's Venusian kung fu.
All right.
Another reference to the Third Doctor.
Is it Venusian jiu-jitsu?
Somewhere Miss Piggy is like giving him the okay wink.
Also, as a nod to the Third Doctor, we get Bessie.
Right, yeah.
But they changed the license plate from Who 1 to Who 7, being this is the Seventh Doctor.
I mean, how do you do that? That's expensive, those vanity plates. So.
Yeah, especially back then in England.
Eugene, was Bessie that fast? I just remember Bessie.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
Ah.
No, the Doctor souped it up, from what I remember.
In the Third Doctor?
Well, he put that thing on it just there that he had on him. So maybe that was something that he had.
Yeah, I can't remember, because to be honest with you, I don't think I've seen very many episodes with Bessie.
Was it the
They're
three
like,
Doctors?
oh no, it's got Batman jets out the back, and then it does the DeLorean.
Yeah,
right.
The
tire and the treads.
Which that movie would have already come out, so they just snatched that.
Oh my God, you're right.
It says here that the Doctor has made modifications to Bessie. There's an anti-theft force field, which was done in the Ambassadors of Death. And then he can remote control Bessie. That was done in the Demons. And then to prevent the Master from escaping. And following the events of Devil's End, and a minimum inertia hyperdrive was put in there so they could travel at breakneck speed. So that's probably where that comes from.
That's good.
Yeah. I like the way Sylvester delivers that line. He's like, Bessie!
Yeah.
It's just I felt enjoyment from him seeing his old friend. I just enjoyed that a lot.
And I love it when it's an actor who's never worked with it before.
And you totally feel like
this is his car.
His car, yeah.
Probably an actor who watched it on the show and was a fan.
Yeah.
Tenet did that, I think, the best.
Yes.
With
anything that old popped up with Tenet, you could be like, he's gonna make me cry. Oh my god, he wasn't even in the episode.
I did like the Brigadier talking to Mordred. I'm tired of hearing about your mother. That was okay. Yeah, I like the Brigadier. Good for you.
That made me think of the line in Austin Powers was like, that's my mother.
There was a scene between Ace and Morgaine where Ace calls Excalibur a paper knife.
Yeah,
I had to look that up because that's just
a
phrase. Well, that's why I'm bringing it up. Because basically a paper knife is a letter opener.
Oh.
That's what I thought. And I was like, well, that would make sense if it was small, but...
So for us, it'd be, you can't touch me while I'm holding this letter opener. Just because I'm holding this one object, you're not touching me. We got the chalk thing.
Twice she does an exclamation, Gordon Bennett, and that made no sense to me whatsoever. So I looked that up, and apparently, I still have no idea who this guy is, but apparently he was an American newspaper owner who lived a very extravagant lifestyle. So, it was like, if you heard something silly, Gordon Bennett did it. So it was like, oh, it's Gordon Bennett. And I even read it on the thing going, this is the stupidest expression. Why would you put it in the show?
They also used Wicked, and I remember that being back east.
Yeah.
Not 20 years ago, but even before that. England was using Wicked, but it was like Wicked came to the, Josh.
Yeah, well, it was more of a Massachusetts, Boston area term, but it definitely permeated down, further into the country in the 80s.
Was it still in the 80s?
I like that word. We should keep that word going.
Yeah. You're on the coast
Wicked
to do it.
What other Wicked cool? Mint, choice. Those were all
choice. It is so choice.
And
they
then
still say that.
I once said fresh, and then I never said it again.
You never said choice unironically.
No, yeah.
But fresh, you could get. Sometimes it was like, oh my god, did that just come out of my mouth?
Yeah.
Right.
I do like the way that they write her. She is smart, and the Doctor lets her do things, but like the Ace and the Seventh Doctor's relationship, I like. And the things that I like are like he lets her go off on her own. So there's like this trust between the Seventh Doctor and Ace that I find very familiar with the current series, the modern series. That I really like the Seventh Doctor, and I think it has a lot to do with the way they write Ace.
And the Doctor does like Ace because they did have that scene, that they had to give up Excalibur to live because Morgaine really wanted it. And he's saying good, and Ace is a little shocked at that, but he says, well, aces are rare, and there's like a little sweet moment.
Yeah. So cute. It could have been cheesy, but it was just done so well.
Yeah, I agree.
And having not seen them before, I could tell I was at a point in their relationship where they were just like two peas in a pod. They were partners.
Yeah.
I liked that. I had so many assumptions before I watched this that ended up not being true, because I always thought she sounded super annoying to me. And I don't know. I'm impressed.
Some stats on Ace. She's been in 31 episodes, and she was the regular companion from 1987 to 1989 when the show ended.
Okay.
And as the 11th Doctor said, and Ace said as she goes into the portal, Geronimo!
Yeah. Is that where we are supposed to infer that the 11th Doctor got that from?
No, just...
I like to think it is.
It's just a coincidence.
I like to think it's not, though. It's just, a seed planted in his head from Ace.
It was just fun to see.
Yeah.
I agree with Josh. I wanted to make that connection.
Anything that any newer doctors do that harkens back to older doctors, I love.
The Brigadier shoots the destroyer to no effect and gets thrown out a window. The Doctor and Morgaine face off as Ace comes through the portal, knocking Morgaine down and sliding Excalibur to the Doctor. Mordred enters and is angry that his mother left him to die, but they transport away together. The Brigadier takes the gun loaded with the silver bullets and shoots the destroyer, causing him to explode. Unit has won the battle, but at a high price. Mordred threatens Bambera, taking her to Morgaine and the nuclear missile. Morgaine accesses the missile codes from Bambera and begins the countdown.
So it was strange to me that Morgaine loses Excalibur and then her and Mordred just leave.
That was not clear. I agree with you. I thought that they get back through the portal to their own dimension.
But the whole point, I thought Morgaine wanted Excalibur. Why did she just transport away? She's like, oh.
Well, the Doctor took
have
Excalibur when Mordred came in, and she wanted Excalibur because then Arthur would stay sleeping. He couldn't rise. So it's to stop Arthur from rising. But at that point, it was, no, I got to fix this with my son, and the Doctor takes Excalibur with her, but it makes no sense. But it wasn't clear where they went, because I thought since they were opening the portal that they had gone back to their own dimension.
It's after she finds out that Arthur's body isn't even there, right?
No.
Not yet.
Oh, not yet. Okay.
But in this section, yeah, when they're at the nuclear missile, which I also thought was cool, and I think it I haven't read much about King Arthur and Merlin, but I've watched enough like miniseries.
Disney Sword of the Stone.
On Merlin, yeah. Disney Sword of the Sword. I think NBC did a miniseries about Merlin called Merlin. So I know enough of the story that like Morgaine wanting to see Arthur like made sense to me.
There is that moment when the Doctor is so angry that because he believes the Brigadier died. And so he goes down, he's with the body of the Brigadier, and the Brigadier wakes up and says something to him. There's a really, really great moment there that pays off 20 years later, because the Seventh Doctor looks down at him and says, you can't be dead. You're supposed to die peacefully in your sleep or in your bed. And we had just watched Wedding of River Song, and that's when Matt Smith's Doctor finds out that the Brigadier had died peacefully surrounded by his family.
And that's why we're doing this episode.
Yeah, but it is just nice that the Doctor knew. You are supposed to die peacefully in your bed. You're not supposed to die like this. And then Matt Smith says later, oh, he's passed away. Oh, it was peacefully. It's just great. I didn't know that was in there. Yeah. And when the Seventh Doctor said it was like, okay, Moffat, sometimes you're really good.
Every once in a while, you get it right.
Yeah.
So originally in the script, Ben Aranovich wanted to kill the Brigadier because it was a character that hadn't been used in a while. But when he came to this scene and was writing it, he's like, I can't kill this guy off. I went into this with one mindset, and when I was writing it, I just couldn't do it. And even, I guess the showrunner at the time, John Nathan Turner, he met with Nicholas Courtney, and he said, do you mind if we kill the Brigadier off? Courtney replied with, no, give him a good story to go out on. And so I think it just synergistically it worked that everybody was like, don't kill this guy off like this.
Yeah, it works better that he doesn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't his time.
I also like the fact that it seems like he is going to be a character that's going to be killed off because he is old, he's had his life, but I don't, obviously what you just said wasn't their intent, but like anti-ageism in a way, like the old guy makes it and he makes it well, and it wasn't even like he couldn't even do his job. He didn't really falter at all. It wasn't some doddering old man in this episode.
Yeah.
I did like that the Brigadier felt he was more expendable than the Doctor, and that's when he knocked the Doctor out and said, I'm going to be doing this. You're needed. I'm not.
I almost like this better as his last hurrah, because I don't like that we're told in exposition the Brigadier passed away.
Right.
And then later on, he gets resurrected in a way that I really don't like.
Which, as we said, did not happen. That was a lie. Not real. It's not canon in my brain. That was so wrong.
Stupid, ridiculous. Moving on.
But then the last time that Nicholas Courtney did play the Brigadier was in the Sarah Jane Adventures. And I kind of like that a little better. So again, that's why we're doing this episode. I feel this is a better representation of who the Brigadier is and how he should have been sent off.
Oh, so there's like another Who Classic episode with the Brigadier after this?
No,
this is the last classic Who, and then in the modern Who, it's that mention in Wedding of River Song, and then the one that Frank doesn't like and none of us like. He gets resurrected as a Cyberman.
Oh.
See, I don't remember that because the Brigadier had no significance to
Right.
me.
That's why.
Because it doesn't exist.
And also because it doesn't
Although,
exist.
as I was researching the Brigadier last night, that's also the moment when the Doctor salutes the Brigadier. The Brigadier always wanted the Doctor to salute him, and he never did. No.
But I will tell you, when Sylvester McCoy first met Nicholas Courtney, he saluted him. And then
Aw.
Really?
and then Nicholas Courtney said, "I'm gonna get along with this guy."
I like Sylvester.
Yeah, I forgot to mention he knows how to do magic. So when he gets the chalk,
Oh yeah.
he does this.
Right. Pulls it out of.
It's like that's him doing that.
Just pulls it out of thin air.
Yeah, they did more of that when he was first on and a bit more clownish. He did a lot of little weirdy, silly things that kids would love. He always wanted every character that he ever play the spoons at one point. That was like a quest of his, and he had a pretty good run until The Hobbit. And they're like, "There's no way you're playing spoons in The Hobbit."
I think they could have put that in there.
He has certainly a lot more bizarre things to do in The Hobbit. A lot more clownish things to do than
in the new Hobbit. Which
He's Radagast.
He's Radagast.
The brown.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, is that so he's not a hobbit? He's a dwarf.
No, he's the one with the
wizard.
bird.
Oh,
in his...
The nature
okay.
wizard.
After the battle between Unit and the Morgaine soldiers, I don't know what we've been calling them. There's this moment where Bambera lifts the helmet of one of the knights, and it's revealed that I think it's a woman. Is that?
So it's supposed to be like a young kid. That was the
okay.
idea.
I don't know. Anyway, I don't know. I liked it. I don't know. It was a nice moment by like this humanizing moment of like we just had this battle and here I liked that moment. I appreciated it.
The actors playing the knights, they practice with broadswords, so they were supposed to have much larger swords, like that would be like the Highland. No, that's not a good example. Braveheart, like that type of sword that they throw and it lands like straight into the ground. Instead, they had like more. A term would be like parrying, like small melee weapons. So when they got their weapons on the set, they're like, "Oh, our choreography is much broader," pun intended.
Yeah, because they had a lot of like anticing back and lunging forward and all this stuff. That's why I thought it looked like very stagey and thinking like it doesn't capture well on video, almost like they were fighting in slow motion.
And then Bambera, she wasn't supposed to be in that scene. So luckily the actress was watching them practice and she was kind of mimicking with a pencil, like do this, do that, do that. And then so when she finally got a sword, they're like, go in there and like get a sword. She knew what to do. So it's great that these things sort of happened, but then sad that the broadsword stuff didn't happen.
Right. Well, but I don't think she did all that great because I looked at it. It was 1, 2, parry, 3, 4.
But then imagine if she never like watched them. That would be completely horrible.
Right.
The Dr. Ace and the Brigadier meet up with Ancelin and bring Excalibur back to the spaceship and King Arthur's body. They remove his helmet to discover only dust. Ace finds a note from a future doctor telling them that Arthur simply died in battle and Morgaine has taken control of the nuclear missile. The Doctor and Ancelin leave the Brigadier and Ace to blow up the ship. Ancelin and Mordred fight again, while the Doctor goes after Morgaine. He convinces her that the destruction from the missile is not honorable, and she stops its activation. She wants to face Arthur, but he tells her he is dead. Their fight is over. She is devastated that he is gone. Mordred beats Ancelin, but the Doctor stops him from delivering the killing blow. Ancelin and Bambera lock him away. Later, they are relaxing at the Brigadier's home. Ace show Bambera and Doris take Bessie the car on a girls' trip through the countryside.
So another thing that ties this to our modern Who is that the Doctor resolves the villain by using words.
Right.
I really enjoyed that. And listening to the commentary, that was not in the original script. It took the script editor to write that. And they're like, oh yeah, this totally fits. And it was a much longer speech. And so what we got, I think, was the best parts of that speech.
Oh, really?
And I think Morgaine played it well, where you could see that no matter what relationship she had with Arthur, she did love him. That's how I took that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's very true to past King Arthur portrayals that I've seen in the media. Like I said, I haven't read. I don't think I've read any authors King Arthur stories, but I definitely watched the Disney movie and the Merlin mini series.
The actress Jean Marsh, I thought she did a really great job, and I just could not stop being confused these whole 4 episodes on whether or not she was cool or not.
Yeah.
I was like, she seems to have some moral code, but not enough to not disintegrate people. I don't know, but it felt very it came back to the classic myth at the end there.
Sounds like the third Doctor and the Master. They love-hate each other.
Exactly. It's I think maybe a million episodes ago I made the reference of the Joker and the Batman. They don't really know how to exist without each other.
I think one other thing that makes Morgaine and this particular story kind of weird is that because the time is so off, she talks to her son that they had been waiting for revenge for 14 centuries or something. So they've been waiting for this vengeance for so long, and in a universe that who knows how time passes there. So she's been tortured with this for a long time, thinking that she would have the ability to face Arthur again, and then to lose that after revenge has been driving you for so long. I guess it makes sense that she would just leave.
They don't really make it clear in the story, but the whole thing is that the archaeological dig has opened up a window so the sun hits Excalibur and activates it. And that's what sets all of this forward in motion, because if Excalibur is being activated, that means that Arthur is going to come back to life because Britain's in its greatest peril. So that's why Morgaine starts doing all this stuff, because Arthur's coming back. And then it's oh, no, he's dead in dust. Like the Dr. Note said, all the rest was propaganda. I thought it's there is a really, really good story in this episode. The Doctor being Merlin before he knows he's Merlin. And, just the whole Arthurian thing of, he comes back in British greatest need. But if he didn't show up in 1939, he's never coming back.
Right.
It would be really cool to see that episode.
Yes, totally agree.
And I don't even think it would spoil this one at all, to just full on retell it.
Yeah, well,
it's better.
And especially with the alternate universe, the sideways travel, you still have the opportunity to tell an Arthurian legend tale set in our universe, and it doesn't have to connect, I don't think.
Yeah, okay, let's go back to that, because they are from another dimension and had this battle on Earth.
Yes,
right.
That's what we're picking up.
In our dimension.
So, but the Arthurian story that we know of was all happened on Earth.
Yes, but all of it was fake. It's a myth.
Right.
Arthur
But
wasn't real,
that all happened on Earth. It's just the people involved happened to be from another dimension, and that was never written down.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
So
Arthur died here when they all went back to their dimension.
I was confusing another dimension with a multiverse where all exists.
It never would have happened here if they hadn't come.
Gotcha.
Switching things to the relationship between Bambera and Ancelin, they straight up ask, "Are you married?"
I know.
When? I don't. What?
At
Are
the
you
end,
betrothed? Or
Yeah.
are you seeing anyone?
Yeah, she asks him earlier in the episode.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Oh, I missed.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of a car chase when it
Yeah.
happens.
Oh, okay.
Kind of love that.
I did think it was a little odd that Ancelin got to stay, even though he's not from this dimension. That seems like that would go against.
Oh, he
some
stayed?
laws.
I guess I didn't even catch that he didn't.
At the very end.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I guess a lot of creatures get to stay in Doctor Who.
The good ones.
They left it open for all the fan fiction writers.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's do this.
And back to the Arthurian legend, Ancelin is an anagram of Lancelot.
Why don't they just use Lancelot? What's the big deal?
Maybe to make that connection that this is a different sideways parallel universe.
Oh, maybe someone with dyslexia wrote down Ancelin in the propaganda.
Could be.
That's what it was.
Maybe it's closer to the Old English
Mm.
than our modern pronunciations.
I like the
Merlin,
end
man.
with the girls going off in the car
Yeah.
together, and the
Have
men have
supper
to
ready
stay
for us.
back and
Yeah.
I do like
What
that
about
ending.
dinner? That's a great idea. Give us
Yeah.
something tasty when we get back.
And then he goes, "Are you Anselin? Are you any good with a lawnmower?"
Yeah.
Yeah, but what does he say after that? Because I listened to it twice and I couldn't understand him.
I think
Look at
the
the
doctor
video
says,
right
"I'll cook supper."
Yeah. The doctor.
Yes.
The doctor
I don't think
does. The
Anselin
doctor
says
does
anything.
say that.
But I
Really?
like the way the doctor smirks, and he's like, "I'll cook supper."
Right.
He's getting out of the lawn mowing. That's a
Yeah.
big
I
yard.
don't know. The
Oh,
thing
yeah.
that bugs me about that is you see Bambosa in the back seat, and she's all laughing and giggling and happy, and it's like, why are you now such a completely different character?
Hey, love
I'm
does
thinking-
that to people, man.
I'm thinking Anselin really knows his stuff. So
Brian, you have to think of the time. Girls just want to have fun.
I know. You see, that's what I get from that scene. It's like, oh, we got a girls' night out. You
Girls
men.
just want to have
I was thinking like that is an extremely feminist and anti-feminist ending at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
Well, when the working day is done, so-
Right.
Well, I like Doris in that. Doris says, "No, I'm leaving. See ya."
Yeah.
Doris is like the key of the feminism
Yeah.
right there. Everyone
But I
else is
liked
kind of like,
it-
we're going to the mall.
What
But I
about
liked
dinner?
Ace. I liked Ace saying, "Do you want to drive?" She goes, "I'll drive on the way back." So, I mean, just that little interchange between them. They were all comrades. They were all doing really well. I enjoyed it.
And I like the Brigadier with the well, what about dinner? And Doris was being, yeah, have something nice when we get back.
Yes.
And I like how Ace has the goggles like that. I like that look on her.
They all did.
Yeah, but on Ace, I feel like it fits. Like she's working with bombs and
Oh, right.
explosives. It
Yes.
fits her. And then there's a dog on the lawn of the
Yeah.
Brigadier's house. That's
Yeah.
John Nathan Turner's real dog, or
Oh,
at
really?
the time, yeah.
I just like to say that I felt out of a lot of the classic Who, even the ones I really liked, this felt the most, I guess not coherent, or I don't want to say succinct because there was a lot of shoe leather in it, but I felt like it all fit together. There weren't like these extraneous pieces that were like that went on tangents and stuff. Even though sometimes it would drag and be a little silly, everyone had their part. Everything kind of like went together. It didn't seem like it was. Each episode felt like it was continuing the whole story. It wasn't like a digression of one idea, then another idea, then another idea, and then we have the end.
I mean, this coming at the end of the whole like original run, I mean, I would expect it to either be some of the best Doctor Who or some of the worst, that
Right.
is out there. But this one felt really good. I agree, Josh. It felt so close to being a modern story. If it had
Yeah.
been fit into that 40-minute runtime,
Yeah.
you get rid of some of that extra Brigadier helicopter and getting ready stuff, and it probably would fit into a more what we consider a modern Doctor Who story.
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to add, I like the costuming on this episode, particularly Morgaine's outfits. I just thought were like, I want them. Like, I want some of those outfits.
Yeah, the costumes were great. I thought the Knights, and we didn't mention it, but even the Destroyer, when he's getting free and ripping through his like mail and
His
stuff,
armor.
like that was all really cool. And then let him be open for the gunshots that would kill him later. But yeah, the costume was great.
I'll bring that guy up when I get to him. We mentioned Jean Marsh as playing Morgaine. It is Jean Marsh OBE, which means she is knighted.
Oh.
And we mentioned that she is Queen Bavmordia in Willow. She was in the 1994 version. I remember her from that's 1994 version of Tomorrow People. Frank mentioned she was Mombi in Return to Oz. And I also remember her from a Twilight Zone episode called The Lonely. She plays Alicia, which is like a female cyber like android that's sent, and she plays opposite Jack Warden, who is the grandfather in Problem Child, and he was also in 12 Angry Men. And she has previously appeared on Doctor Who, Classic Who. She was in The Crusade as Princess Joanna, and this is a first Doctor story. And I think this is also opposite Julian Glover, who plays Richard the Lionheart. And later, she was Sarah Kingdom in The Daleks' Master Plan, also with the first Doctor, which happens to be Nicholas Courtney's first Doctor Who appearance. Not as the Brigadier, but as just an actor.
Mm.
So I thought that was kind of cool that things with her career and Nicholas Courtney's kind of merged during this last story of theirs.
She also has another. She was married to John Pertwee for 5 years.
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's the doctor's wife.
James Ellis plays Peter Wormsley. Angela Bruce plays Brigadier Winifred Bambera. And I found her story kind of interesting, so I'll just read a little bit of it. She was born in Leeds to an English mother and a Trinidadian father, and she was put up for adoption. But in this orphanage, the matron considered her too colored to be adopted, but later on she chose the family she wanted to adopt her. And she grew up as the only black child in a tiny mining village in the northeast of England. And then she broke into acting with musicals. And she was in a production of the Rocky Horror Show.
What did she do in acting-wise after this?
I looked it up. Nothing that I noticed. It was mostly UK stuff. She is on the DVD on the extra bonus features, so that's nice to see her talking about her time. She said it was one of the most fun she's had on a production.
I mean, it looked fun.
Yeah, and she actually had a crush on Robert Jezik, who plays Zbigniew.
The guy in the beginning, right?
Yeah, the guy in the beginning. Christopher Bown plays Mordred. He is Commander Richard Day in Tomorrow Never Dies.
Oh.
Commander Richard Babe, am I right?
Marcus Gilbert plays Anselin. He played Tomask, the Russian helicopter pilot in Rambo 3. I don't know if you remember that, but he blows up good. And we might recognize him as Lord Arthur in Army of Darkness.
Oh.
Angela Douglas plays Dorothy Lethbridge-Stewart. Noel Collins plays Pat Rowlinson. June Bland plays Elizabeth Rowlinson. And she's appeared with the Fifth Doctor story in Earthshock. She plays Berger. Ling Tai plays Shou Yung. She was previously in Warriors of the Deep, the one that we also did, as an uncredited sea base commander. Robert Jezik plays Sergeant Zbigniew. He was in Event Horizon as a rescue technician, and he was an arresting officer in the newest version of Casino Royale. Okay, this one's going to be tough. Dorota Kaulaksha plays Flight Lieutenant Lavelle. She's the dead pilot. Stefan Schwartz plays the Knight Commander on Morgaine's army. Merrick Anton plays the Destroyer, and he was hired because he could physically expand his chest like that. It was like a trick of his that he could kind of do that, and it's like, oh, that's real? Let's cast him as the Destroyer.
Whoa. That's weird.
All right.
Those weird talents you have, you never know when they're gonna come in handy.
To tie this in with Modern Who, Mark Warren, who played Elton in Love and Monsters, is an extra in this story.
Shut up.
Where?
I don't know. It's in the background, but he's credited.
Dude.
Gosh, I can't believe how late this episode was. I keep thinking, it's classic. It's the 70s. No, it was almost 1990. Okay.
Yeah, but that's 20 years. So how old would he have
15.
been?
That actor was born in 67. He's 53 right now.
Oh,
Shut up. He's like 13.
So in 89.
So the actor who played Elton was 22.
Anyway, those are some reasons why we did this episode, to tie it in with the Brigadier's passing at the end of season 6. And I'm glad we enjoyed this, because to me, it's one of the better episodes of Classic Who. It feels very contained.
Yeah, I think that's what I was trying to say. Less better before. It feels more like the Modern Who's, whereas the other ones seem to have moments of the Modern Who's.
Well, if you think about it, I mean, if you don't count the movie, the next thing I did was Rose. So
Yeah. But I really like Sylvester McCoy. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of this season.
Yeah, I really like this Doctor as well, and Ace as the companion is just amazing.
Yeah.
So that wraps up Battlefield. Thanks for listening. Stay safe. And we will see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
And we have additional music by Daniel Paggio.
All our episodes are engineered by Auburn.
You can find him at auburnbinkley.com.
You can also find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher.
Or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
Visit our Facebook page,
Please leave comments, reviews, and click like to help support Who Knew Podcast.
To listen to our show on your Amazon Echo device, enable the AnyPod podcast skill. Ask AnyPod to play the Who Knew Podcast.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who,
the longest-running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival, spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell,
Sydney Newman,
Verity Lambert,
Ron Grainer,
Delia Derbyshire,
and all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.